Indiana is in the middle of a flooding emergency right now, and this isn't your typical seasonal high water. Officials are calling it historic. At least 6 people have lost their lives. Crews have pulled hundreds of residents out of flooded homes using boats. And the White River, the waterway that cuts straight through Indianapolis, has climbed to heights the city hasn't seen in 3 decades, with some stretches breaking records that stood for over 100 years. It's Sunday, August 16, 2026, and here's what's actually happening. Let's start with the bigger picture, because this wasn't triggered by a single storm system. A few facts worth noting as you build this out. The flooding stems from a stretch of severe weather, storms, straight-line winds, and tornadoes that battered Indiana from August 11 through 16. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett declared a local emergency on Friday, August 14, and the White River crested Saturday night at roughly 20 feet, hitting hardest through Hamilton County and the northern Indianapolis suburbs, including neighborhoods like Broad Ripple, Ravenswood, and Rocky Ripple. Governor Mike Braun secured a presidential emergency declaration after speaking with President Trump, unlocking federal disaster funds for the state's response. On August 11, a powerful derecho, a fast-moving band of severe thunderstorms, swept through the region. The storm system swept from Iowa, through northern Illinois, and into northwest Indiana, driving straight-line winds as high as 99 miles per hour in Gary, and spawning tornadoes in Chicago's suburbs that clipped Lake County. That same system set off flooding that hasn't let up since. Then came the rain, 7 straight days of it. Parts of Henry County, in east-central Indiana, recorded 11.5 inches in just 48 hours. That's an extraordinary total. For comparison, Indianapolis typically sees about 4 inches of rain for the entire month of August. Some areas got nearly 3 times that in 2 days. The soil had no time to absorb any of it, and rivers surged over their banks almost immediately. What makes this flooding especially dangerous is the way it's moving. It's behaving like a flood wave, essentially a massive pulse of water pushing downstream. Northern Indiana has already taken the brunt of it, and that water is now advancing south and west toward communities that haven't yet felt the worst of it. We'll walk through that timeline shortly, since it matters most for anyone in southern Indiana watching this unfold. Now let's go region by region, starting with where the disaster began. Eastern Indiana, Cambridge City, Newcastle, Henry County. This is ground zero. On the morning of August 12, floodwaters rose so quickly that entire neighborhoods were submerged within hours, with water reaching rooftop level in some homes. Cambridge City's town council president, a 60-year resident, said he'd never witnessed anything close to this level of destruction. The National Weather Service issued multiple flash flood emergencies for east-central Indiana that day, the highest tier of flash flood alert, and one rarely used. When the National Weather Service issues a flash flood emergency, that's about as serious as it gets. It means lives are in immediate danger, and people need to get out immediately. That's how dire conditions were on Wednesday morning. Central Indiana, as of 6 a.m. this Sunday. The story here is the White River, and it's a significant one. Starting upstream in Noblesville, in the northern Indianapolis metro area, Hamilton County, the White River crested at 24.6 feet early Saturday morning. Flood stage is 14 feet, meaning the river sat roughly 10.5 feet above it. The National Weather Service described the level as approaching the flood of record, meaning Noblesville has rarely, if ever, seen water this high in over a century of record keeping. The impacts are severe. East 116th Street is underwater, River Road is impassable, and the Noblesville wastewater treatment plant is fully submerged. Extensive flooding has also hit 96th, 122nd, 126th, and 146th streets throughout Hamilton County, forcing numerous evacuations. The flood warning for Noblesville remains active until Wednesday evening, August 19th. Moving downstream to the Nora area in northern Indianapolis proper, the White River reached 21.2 feet against a flood stage of just 11 feet, again described by the NWS as approaching the flood of record. Much of Ravenswood, Mystic Bay, and the neighborhoods on both sides of Keystone Avenue south of East 96th Street are sitting under roughly 3 feet of standing water. The Indianapolis Art Center is currently surrounded by floodwater. The flood warning for Nora remains in effect until Wednesday afternoon, August 19th. This is one of the most urgent situations unfolding right now, as this update is being recorded. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for all residents west of Chittenden Avenue. The levee protecting Rocky Ripple is near its top. The Wharfley levee in Broad Ripple is also at critical levels. If you're in Ravenswood and haven't evacuated yet, leave now. The flood warning for that area remains in effect until early Thursday morning, August 20th. Here's the latest as of 4:30 this Sunday morning from the Indianapolis Department of Public Works. The north side of Marion County has reached peak flooding. But, and this is the critical part, that peak is now moving south. At 5:20 this morning, IDPW confirmed flooding already appearing on Wicker Road, approaching Tibbs Avenue from the west. The south side is next. It's happening in real time. Indianapolis officials have flagged 4 new areas at risk for imminent flooding. Sunshine Gardens, the Southport Road corridor near Indy Lakes Campground, the east side of the White River south of Raymond Street, and Hyaker Manor. If you live in any of these neighborhoods, have a plan ready and be prepared to move at a moment's notice. Now to the White River at the main Indianapolis gauge on Raymond Street. At 10:45 last night, the river stage measured 20.5 feet, well above the 16-foot flood stage. The National Weather Service forecast a peak of 20.8 feet by dawn this morning, which is happening right now. At this level, residential flooding is occurring near I-465 on the south side, and the south side wastewater treatment plant is under threat. The flood warning here runs until early Tuesday morning, August 18th. The Indianapolis Fire Department has carried out 51 water rescues since Saturday morning alone, 49 of those in just the hours after 8 a.m. Saturday. In total, FD has brought 91 residents and 45 pets to safety, with additional rescues underway across multiple counties statewide. National Guard vehicles are now on the streets of Indianapolis assisting with rescue operations. Late Saturday night, the River Road Apartments received an emergency evacuation order. Floodwaters had eroded the road so severely that the building itself now faces possible structural failure. That's a measure of just how dangerous this situation has become. Moving further upstream, Anderson-Madison County, the White River at Anderson crested at an almost unbelievable 24.93 feet. Flood stage there is just 10 feet. That peak shattered the previous record, one that had stood since 1913, a 113-year-old record, gone. There is some good news. Water in Anderson is now receding. By 10:30 last night, it had dropped to 15.1 feet, still in flood stage, but falling, and expected to drop below flood stage by late Tuesday evening. Now let's zoom out, because this flooding disaster extends far beyond the White River. This is a statewide catastrophe. In northern Indiana, the Wabash River near Bluffton sits 11.3 feet above flood stage and is expected to crest Sunday evening. The Wabash near Lynn Grove is at 13 feet, another level the NWS says is approaching the flood of record. A flash flood watch is also in effect for White County, driven by the Norway Dam discharging more than 9,000 cubic feet per second, a massive release that downstream communities need to watch closely. That watch runs until 11 a.m. today. In west central Indiana, the Wabash River at Lafayette has reached 18.9 feet against an 11-foot flood stage. State Road 225 and County Road 950W are both flooded, leaving 4 residences completely cut off with no vehicle access. Barton Beach Road is closed. That warning remains in effect until early Friday morning, August 21st. Wildcat Creek near Lafayette hit 16.7 feet Saturday night, well above its 10-foot flood stage, and is expected to peak near 17.8 feet overnight tonight. That warning runs until Thursday morning, August 20th. And here's something that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention. Down in southwestern Indiana, while all of this flooding unfolds in the north and central parts of the state, an entirely different weather emergency is happening at the same time. An extreme heat warning is in effect right now for southwestern Indiana, Gibson, Pike, Posey, Vanderburgh, Warwick, and Spencer counties until 8 p.m. CDT tonight, with heat indices reaching 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit across most of the warned area. In the hardest hit spots, Friday and Saturday already saw heat index peaks ranging from 105 to 113 degrees, according to the National Weather Service office in Paducah, Kentucky. Consider that combination for a moment. People who just lost power because of the flooding. As of Saturday evening, more than 160,000 homes and businesses statewide remained without electricity, and some of those same people are now facing dangerous heat with no power and no air conditioning. That's a genuine life safety issue. A heat advisory also covers south central Indiana, Monroe County, the Bloomington area, along with Lawrence, Daviess, Knox, Martin, and Sullivan counties, with heat index values approaching 105 degrees through 9 p.m. tonight. Please check on your neighbors, especially elderly residents. Now let's talk about where this flooding is headed. This is the downstream flood wave mentioned earlier, and it's critical information for communities in southern and western Indiana over the next 7 to 10 days. Here's how it works. When a river floods upstream, that water doesn't just vanish. It travels downstream. Right now, a massive pulse of water from the upper White River is moving south and southwest, working its way through community after community. Centerton, just southwest of Martinsville, is at 12.9 feet, already in minor flood stage at 12 feet, and is forecast to rise to 16.6 feet by Monday afternoon. That will flood State Road 39, the connector between State Roads 37 and 67 southwest of Martinsville. That warning remains in effect until further notice, and Blue Bluff Road near the IPL power plant is already impassable. Spencer in Owen County sits further downstream at 12.9 feet, still below its 14-foot flood stage, but the NWS forecasts it will rise above flood stage this Sunday afternoon, peak at 20.5 feet by Wednesday morning, and stay in flood until Saturday, August 22nd. That's 6 more days of flooding ahead for Spencer, starting today. Edwardsport in Knox County, further downstream still, is at 12.3 feet. It's expected to rise above flood stage by Sunday morning and peak at 21 feet on Saturday, August 22nd, with that forecast holding until further notice. Elliston follows a similar path, peaking around 24.5 feet Thursday evening and not clearing until August 24th. Petersburg is only at 7.6 feet right now, against a 16-foot flood stage, but it's projected to crest at 21.8 feet on Sunday, August 23rd, nearly 2 weeks after the rain first fell up north. The Wabash River is tracking a similar pattern. Montezuma is currently at 22.7 feet, well above its 14-foot flood stage, and is expected to peak at 24.7 feet Monday morning. Terre Haute, further downstream on the Wabash, is at 19.4 feet and climbing toward a forecast peak near 24 feet by Wednesday morning. That location won't drop below flood stage until August 24th. And the Wabash at Hudsonville, right near the Illinois state line, is expected to peak Friday afternoon at 23 feet. Communities there need to watch closely this week. In eastern Indiana, the East Fork White River at Seymour, in Jackson County, is at 16.9 feet against a 12-foot flood stage, and will stay in flood through Thursday afternoon. Further downstream near Riverwalk in Lawrence County, the river hasn't reached flood stage yet. It's at 14.4 feet against a 20-foot flood stage, but it's expected to rise above flood stage Tuesday morning, peak around 21 feet Wednesday evening, and not clear until Saturday, August 22nd. That's the flood wave in action, a pulse of water moving across an entire state over the course of 2 weeks. The government response has been substantial. Once again, residents can text Indy Flood to 267-283 for official city updates. The death toll. This is the most sobering part of this update. At least 6 people have died in this disaster, including a 4-year-old boy killed when a tree fell on his home in Jennings County, according to CNN affiliate Wish. 2 deaths have been confirmed in Delaware County, with 1 each in Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties. There's also an update on a search on the Mississinaharfa River in Delaware County. On Saturday, the Delaware County Sheriff's Office confirmed that the body of 18-year-old Matthew May had been recovered from the river, concluding a multi-day search. Matthew, a recent Delta High School graduate from Albany, Indiana, had been preparing to attend Purdue University. He and 3 friends entered the flooded river Wednesday night. The other 3 were rescued. The sheriff's office said there are no words that can ease the pain of losing a child, and that their thoughts are with Matthew's family, friends, and everyone who knew and loved him. Also in Delaware County, sheriff's deputies on Friday recovered the body of a 58-year-old woman in Yorktown, believed to have died after her vehicle was swept off a flooded road. Please keep all of these families in your thoughts. The National Weather Service data is unambiguous. Most flood-related deaths happen in vehicles. Just 6 inches of fast-moving floodwater can knock a person off their feet. 8 inches can move a car. 2 feet of water will float a vehicle away entirely. If you come across a flooded road, any flooded road, turn around. Don't attempt to cross it. The water is almost always deeper than it appears, and the current is almost always stronger than it looks. No road is worth your life. That's not an exaggeration. Now let's get into the forecast for the coming days, because here's the reality. We're not done with the rain yet. Not even close. Today, Sunday, August 16th, there's a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon across central Indiana, with the bigger threat arriving tonight. A 40% chance of storms mainly between 8 p.m. and 3 a.m. high, near 86 degrees today, with an overnight low around 74. And here's the part that matters most. The National Weather Service's hazardous weather outlook, issued at 3:07 a.m. this morning, states plainly that any additional heavy rainfall will likely quickly produce flash flooding. The reason is simple: the ground is completely saturated. There's nowhere for new rain to go except straight into streams and rivers that are already at or above flood stage. Even a modest amount of rain tonight could set off new flash flooding in communities already struggling with existing floodwaters. Monday, August 17th, 30% chance of storms, mainly after 1 p.m., with a high near 87. Monday night brings a 40% chance of storms with a low near 72. Tuesday, August 18th, mostly sunny, high near 81. This is the break. Tuesday looks like the first real breather for central Indiana. Rivers on the north side should start falling more decisively, and cleanup can begin in many communities. But, and this needs to be heard clearly, Wednesday, August 19th is the next hazard day. The NWS Hazardous Weather Outlook specifically flags Wednesday into Wednesday night for a possible return of strong thunderstorms with heavy rainfall, putting precipitation chances at 60%. Here's why that's especially concerning. The flood warnings for Noblesville, Nora, and Ravenswood are all set to expire Wednesday, but if the region sees significant new rainfall on ground that's still fully saturated, those rivers could spike again rapidly, meaning communities that just endured this could face a second round. Watch Wednesday closely. Thursday through Saturday looks better. Mostly sunny with highs in the low to mid-70s, a meaningful cool down from recent days that should help recovery efforts significantly. Good conditions for cleanup, debris removal, and damage assessment. But even as northern and central Indiana begins to recover, the downstream flood wave keeps moving. Spencer crests Wednesday. Elliston peaks Thursday. Petersburg doesn't crest until Sunday, August 23rd. Terre Haute on the Wabash peaks Wednesday and won't clear flood stage until August 24th. Bottom line on timing: this flooding event across Indiana's river systems won't fully resolve until roughly August 24th, see 25th, nearly 2 full weeks after the rain first began falling on August 11th. 2 weeks of active flooding. Putting it in perspective, what's unfolding in Indiana right now is genuinely historic. Dozens of river and stream gauges across Indiana and neighboring states are simultaneously above flood stage, a situation that's almost unheard of. Anderson broke a flood record that had stood for 113 years. Noblesville and Nora are approaching all-time records. Indianapolis is experiencing its worst flooding in more than 30 years, potentially a 100-year flood event. More than a dozen counties have declared local disasters. A presidential emergency declaration is active, and FEMA is engaged. As of Saturday evening, more than 160,000 homes and businesses remained without power statewide. AES Indiana has called this the worst outage in the company's history, with full restoration potentially taking more than a week. Consider what that means: no power, no air conditioning, and extreme heat gripping the southern part of the state at the same time. There's also a serious contamination risk. Delaware County Emergency Management has confirmed that floodwaters across affected areas contain sewage, gasoline, and other toxic chemicals, capable of releasing gases that cause nausea, severe headaches, burning eyes, sore throat, and breathing difficulty. Do not wade through floodwater. Do not let children play near it. Assume all of it is contaminated. Quick recap. As of Sunday morning, August 16th, 6 confirmed deaths, including 18-year-old Matthew May, whose body was recovered from the Mississinaua River Saturday. The White River flood peak is moving south through Indianapolis today, putting south side neighborhoods at new risk. Storms are possible again tonight, and any rain brings a new flash flood risk on already saturated ground statewide. Downstream communities: Centerton, Spencer, Elliston, Petersburg, haven't seen their flood peaks yet. Keep watching closely. Wednesday brings the next potential threat of severe weather and heavy rain. An extreme heat warning remains in effect for southwest Indiana and neighboring areas through this evening. EMA assistance is activated. A presidential emergency declaration is in place, and the National Guard is deployed. This remains a developing situation, and updates will continue as conditions evolve. If this update was helpful, consider liking and sharing it with anyone in the affected areas, and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss the next one. This story is far from over. Until the next update, stay off flooded roads, heed every evacuation order, check on your neighbors, especially those without power, and take this seriously. Stay safe, Indiana. We're with you.